Hey guys, it's Laney Puhalla here, the 2018 Miss Major out of America and Grand National Twirling Champion, and the 2018 WBTF Junior Women's Gold Medalist. I'm super duper excited to have the opportunity to teach you guys some new skills over the next few weeks. The first that I'm going to be teaching is going to be elbow pops. They're one of my favorite things because you can do such a variety of things with them. They're not just a stationary plain elbow pop. You can do so many unique and different things and spice it up, whether it be in your solo, your two baton, or even your freestyle. So they're one of my favorite elements to incorporate into all of my routines. So that's going to be the first thing I'll be teaching you guys. Let's get to it.
First and foremost, one of the most important things to be comfortable with before attempting elbow pops is a plain elbow roll. While doing your elbow roll, it's really important to make sure that the center or tip of your elbow is placed directly under your nose. When you reach under and place the baton on the top of your arm, you want to make sure that it's centered within the triangle that your arm creates. You don't want it too close to the edge or too close to your face. Once that feels pretty natural, you can go ahead and add a little bit of momentum to your roll to create your elbow roll. Remember to keep the tip of your elbow directly under your nose and to roll the baton right in the middle of the triangle. The transition from elbow rolls to elbow pops can be pretty challenging, but one of the key things to think about is doing tiny little circles with your elbow while maintaining the tight triangle in your arm and keeping your elbow placed directly under your nose. Keeping the tiny circles in mind, we can then go back to our elbow rolls. When we do our elbow roll, we're going to place the baton on our arm, and as the baton begins to roll, we're going to create one little tiny fast circle. It's important that right after you complete your tiny circle, your elbow goes right back to the starting position with the center or tip of our elbow directly under our nose. This will help us in the next step, which is transitioning from one elbow pop into two. This next skill is a tricky one because it requires a lot of control over your baton, but the more control we have over our baton, the better we'll be able to manipulate it around our body when doing our elbow pops and other rolls. For this skill, we're going to execute exactly what we did the first time. So we're going to roll it on our elbow and complete our first tiny little circle. Like I said before, it's really important that our elbow gets back to the center right under our nose with our tight triangle being formed. This is because after we do our first elbow pop, we want to execute the second half of our elbow roll. So we just want to be able to control the landing of our baton and let it finish the second half of the roll to our plain normal catch. Being able to control the reception of the first elbow pop is a really important transition skill into multiple elbow pops. Normally, where we make our reception and finish the second half of our elbow roll, instead of making our reception, we're going to create another small tiny circle with our elbow to create our second elbow pop. Once again, we want to think about returning our elbow back to the starting position in case we wanted to attempt a third elbow pop. We can also use the same control building skills that we used when transitioning from one elbow pop to two. We can use this from the transition from two elbow pops to three and three to four and so forth. Once you can do two continuous elbow pops, the transition from two to three or three to four is much easier than from one to two. Go ahead and use all the steps we just covered to practice your continuous elbow pops. Next is the transition from stationary elbow pops to continuous turning elbow pops. These can be a little bit tricky because they incorporate a right elbow pop, which is something that's a little bit more difficult to learn and master. Similar to how we started with plain stationary elbow pops, we're going to start with a double elbow roll. To begin training the right elbow pop, we're going to try to pop up the second half of our elbow roll. Similar to the little circles we would create on our left arm doing our stationary elbow pops, we're going to create a little circle with our right elbow going the same direction. So we're going to begin with our double elbow roll, and once we reach the right arm, as soon as our baton begins to roll flat across the top of our elbow, we're going to create our dip and our circle to give the baton a lift off of our arm and to create the pop motion. Next step in transitioning to elbow pop turns, would be to incorporate a left elbow pop followed by our double elbow roll, finished out with a right elbow pop. Very similar to how we were doing a left elbow pop followed by the second half of our elbow roll to control our baton. We're going to do the same thing here, but instead of doing a single elbow roll, we're going to do our left elbow pop followed by a double elbow roll. And at the end of that double elbow roll, we're going to create the little circular motion that we were just practicing with our right elbow to create the lift and pop. Once that feels nice and comfortable, we can take out the double elbow roll action, and we'll go straight from our left pop to our right elbow pop. The challenging part about this step is judging the timing and revolution of your baton. Think of it as if you were going into your right elbow pop as it were an elbow roll. So think about the angle in which the baton falls onto your elbow for your elbow roll and try to emulate that when trying to enter your right elbow pop. Once that step feels comfortable, you can then add 2 elbow pops on your left elbow before entering your right elbow pop. This shouldn't be too challenging of a transition since we first got very comfortable with continuous stationary elbow pops. This next step, I would say, is the trickiest step to master when learning continuous turning elbow pops. It's a big challenge to figure out the timing of your right elbow pop back into a left elbow pop. To make it a bit easier, let's use some of our transition skills that we used previously. Let's go back to doing our left elbow pop followed by a double elbow roll into our right elbow pop. Once that right elbow pop has left our arm, let's try to catch it back on our left elbow into maybe an elbow roll or even an elbow pop. By incorporating the double elbow roll back into the skill, it gives us the ability to really feel and execute the skill with comfort. Once this feels super duper comfortable, we can completely take out the elbow rolls again and go straight back into our left elbow pops, followed by the right elbow pop back into our left elbow. Again, the trickiest thing about this transition would be the timing. It's really hard to judge and know when you should go into and try to enter your last left elbow pop. This is something that will get better with repetition and the more you practice it. Now that we are able to do all of the elbow pops that are required in the elbow pop turnarounds, we can now learn the execution of our lower half. So what our feet and body need to do to make the skill work a little bit easier and more cohesively. Throughout this demonstration, you'll see me execute 2 different types of footwork. One will have a plie and the other will not. These don't really make too much of a difference, it's really just a matter of preference, so you can go ahead and try both and determine which one is most comfortable for you. When we execute our elbow pops, we should have our weight centered over our right foot with our left foot tendued to the side. This should remain the same for our first 2 elbow pops, which will be executed on our left side. After we execute our first 2 elbow pops, we transition our weight to our left foot. You can either do a plie or a straight-legged step, but that step will occur as we execute our right elbow pop. For myself, I find it really beneficial to set my baton down and practice the body work as if I had a baton in my hands, but this just helps me get really comfortable with the timing of when the elbow pops should occur and let them be cohesive with the timing of my steps. You'll notice that I executed an extra turn in my body work. This is replicating what my body will do when I execute my 4th elbow pop in this skill. It is a 3-step turn and will go left, right, left directly to your left side. Timing, timing, timing is everything. This can be challenging because you're going into your 4th elbow pop blind as you can't see the baton. So you really just have to practice it and be super repetitious in your training. The more you do it, the more the baton will go to the same place every single time. And that's exactly what we need when we're doing our elbow pop turnarounds.
There are so many more variations you can do with elbow pops, but those are some of the basics and the foundation of what you need to make sure you're really comfortable with before moving in to some of the more advanced or elite skills. So really make sure you have that stationary elbow pop with just your left elbow, keeping your elbow under your nose. That's one of the key things. It's super duper important. Keep your rotation small with your elbow, and then you need to make sure you can transition from left elbow pops to your right elbow pop rather easily so that you can transition into your elbow pop turnarounds. Those are some of the basic things and like our core elements for our elbow pop skills. So it's really important to be super duper comfortable with those. Repetition is key, so the more you practice and the more you do it, the easier it will become. But if you want to learn some more variations or some twists you can do with the elbow pops, let me know and we can go into detail on those. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.